Bruce was, of course, a number of things were happening. Moonlighting was happening. I'm not sure what the sequence of events. Moonlighting, then there was Die Hard. We made a record together, which was extremely successful. Somewhere in there, was it TriStar offered you a
kind of a first look deal, kind of an overall deal.
Whenever that was, and so there were parallel things were happening. I think I produced a Little Mermaid at that point and was off to scoring Mambo Kings. Right. So it was a very, it was a thrilling time to have all this starting to gel.
But it kind of started as a more of a serious action movie kind of. One of the first things we said was that it was like James Bond before he became James Bond. Like, what was James Bond when he was 20 years old? It was Sean Connery. Like, what was that guy doing? Like, if he was stealing stuff, he was a good thief. We got about that far. But I never liked it when it was serious. I kept saying, I don't know. It was like something about a heart, about stealing. There was somebody's heart.
Second Story Man was going to get into a hospital.
Yeah, steal a heart for someone, like how they do heart transplants in those days. But that never quite made it. And then Dan,
there was a buffalo chase. Remember that?
Yeah.
Somebody was hiding in a buffalo coming across the plain. He was in the Wild West. No. He didn't get moved to Italy till we decided we needed a good place to hang out. Too. And then one day, where? I said, I don't know, we should go to Venice or Florence or Rome or something. We need to go on a trip. Next thing I know, there's a draft that includes Italy. And I thought, this'll work. Yeah. And then boom, one day we were shooting in New York. That was and taking the Concorde.
Yeah.
To
crazy. Well, we shot in New York for about 4 weeks.
Right.
To shoot all the New York part of it, about the first heist, and
lived in an apartment on 50. There were a couple places. 57th Street. There was an incredible tower that overlooked the East River.
Yeah.
You heard, right?
And we all had to get on the plane at like 6 in the morning or something to go over to Rome.
Our luggage didn't.
Luggage didn't make it. So we had to spend the night in Paris, sadly.
If you guys were a little older, we could tell you a little about that story.
Sadly. And then finally got down to Rome, and we were just exhausted. And the family whose house we were staying in, they were all lined up outside. And I didn't know what to make of all of it. And I said, how you doing? And they all wanted to take a photo and everything. And had I known that that's what they wanted, I would have done it. But nobody told me that that's what it was. It was like an Italian thing. And so if any of you guys are watching, the folks from the Villa, sorry, I didn't get those pictures taken.
And during the shoot, now that I think of it, I actually flew back to New York and rounded up an all-star studio band, knowing Bruce's key and the tempo that we wanted to use. I came back to New York for a few days in the middle of a shoot and recorded the backing tracks. On film, you often have a playback of the tracks, and the actors will either sing or lip sync, and I think we probably did both. They pre-recorded it, I believe, in this Forum Studios in Rome. We went downstairs at Forum Studios in Rome, and Bruce and Danny did vocals there that we could use on the set. Maybe they also sung live for a couple takes without the tracks, but I went and recorded with a fantastic band in New York City the tracks for those numbers. And then finally, at the end of the entire show, had a chance to record the theme song with Dr. John, who sang it. And there's some really great unheralded performances in some of these moments on the instrumental theme song of Hudson Hawk. And this is arcane information for music fans, but in the instrumental version, we had a group in Hollywood play it, and including Jeff Porcaro, who is the legendary drummer in Toto, since passed away, but it was one of his last recording sessions. And it was, for me, playing with guys like Jeff, and we also had Rick Moranis.
Rick,
These were guys, you know, it's like Steely Dan playing our music, and a lot of fun with Dr. John too, recording the theme song. Both of us got a chance to work with certain legendary heroes of ours.
Very cool.
In making the movie.
The seldom seen video that went along with the
Completely forgot.
track Hudson Hawk was directed by Antoine Fuqua, who I would go on to work with in a movie called Tears of the Sun just a couple years ago.
That's right. He was a music video director at that point.
And he told me on the night of that shoot, he said, "I want to make a movie with you someday." And all things come. You know, looking at how it kind of became this cult film, and what people, you know, come up and say to me on the street about it is they, you know, dig the fact that it was making fun of itself and that it was satire. And I don't think anybody got that when it came out. They didn't know what to make of it, you know. Me and Danny Aiello singing in a movie was just unheard of, and they were, you know, people were mad about it or something. Like they were mad that we were trying to make them laugh, and that's all we were trying to do. We were just trying to, we were just Three Stooges jokes in there, and I think more than anything else, which is, it's always not too good an idea to try to make yourselves laugh, but we were laughing while we were shooting. The thing that I think should be said about the film is that it was special to us for a lot of different reasons, but it was vilified, I think, more than any film of its time, of its decade. It had some of the worst. They had been trying to say, they've been trying to tear down, you know, come after me, I guess, since the first Die Hard, and you know, the films were successful anyway. But they finally were. They had started to review this film long before anybody saw any of it, you know. So it was just my time to catch a beating in the press. But the film is in profit now, and it's, you know, paid for itself and is making money. I get, you know, which is a Pyrrhic victory, I suppose. I still laugh at it. I think it's funny. There's stuff in the movie that makes me laugh. I mean, it's just so silly. And that was the whole point. We were just trying to make people laugh. And it might have been a little too hip for the room at the time. And we had so many great performances in there that got neglected and got overlooked because they were just picking up, you know, just bombing me and throwing rocks at me, and it you know, at the time I thought I kind of got it, kind of didn't get it, but it allowed me to not take my work so seriously, because up to that time there was no line between my work and my life, and it was right around that time that I had just gotten married, and you know, a couple of years earlier, and I started, you know, I had kids now, and I started to see that, well, this is my job and this is my family, and so it helped me in that sense.
I gotta tell you, I was always impressed. Bruce has a unique ability to be resilient, and I think I was distressed and hurt, and I remember you felt, I don't think I can say what you actually said, but
I said, fuck it. I said, whatever,
right.
You know, I mean, it doesn't matter.
And I thought, you know what, you're right. I was taking it personally, and there was a little bit of, Bruce just said, you know what, man, if they don't get it, on to the next.